This episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast is brought to you in part by Xero. Xero is a powerful cloud accounting software that improves efficiencies across your practice. With all client data stored on a single unified ledger, you and your clients can easily access and collaborate on the same set of books. Xero's advisor tools and automation solutions reduce time-consuming manual tasks and put data entry on autopilot. Work faster and more efficiently than ever before with Xero. Visit xero.com/accounting insiders to learn more. Welcome to another episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast. My name is Gary Dehart. I am the host of the Accounting Insiders podcast and the publisher of Insightful Accountant. My guest today is Diane Gilson. Diane is, if you look on her LinkedIn profile, it's not completely updated yet, but if you looked on her LinkedIn profile, you would see that Diane is a QuickBooks expert in job costing for construction and manufacturing. She was the 2016 Insightful Accountant Top Niche Pro Advisor and the 2022 Insightful Accountant Pro Advisor of the Year. And now she's adding AI to her list of what I'll call soon-to-be accomplishments, but actually you're already there, right? You're already training on it, but I'll let you dive a little deeper into that. But welcome, Diane. Thank you for taking some time to have a conversation.
Well, thanks so much, Gary. Glad to be here. Of course, long-term fan of Insightful Accountant and all of the different award programs that you've handled over the years. The whole community is very grateful to you for the kinds of things that you're doing.
Well, we appreciate being part of the community, and I think you'll certainly see where you're headed in your business. AI is certainly going to be a part of what will be. I don't think this year. I'm trying to recall if Murph's added that in for 2026 or not, but any of the awards program. But it will certainly be impacting us over the years for sure. And so, as it's impacting your business, just give us just like a 2-minute background for Diane in accounting and your business, where you've been, and then where you're headed with it.
Okay, well,
and why?
Okay, well, when I first got involved with, of course, I've been in accounting for a long time. I was in a CPA firm for 3 years, and then I moved on into banking for 13 years. I worked on the management accounting side pretty much, although I was also in internal audit, earned my internal audit designation there. And then in 1994, I started my own business. And right after I started, there was a local group that I had heard about that was involved on the construction side. It was the local home builders group. And one of the fellows that I knew from banking said, hey, you need to go over there and check it out. And also I went to a luncheon where one of the women who was there was talking to me, and she said, oh yeah, you got to go talk to the home builders. You know, those guys really need a lot of help. So I got involved right away and love the outlook of people who are in construction, very straightforward people, also with a strong systems orientation. And so they needed good information to roll forward. So that's how I got involved in within a week of setting up my own business, I had decided I wanted to work inside QuickBooks. And at the time, it was still a pretty new program, hadn't been out very long as of 1994. So that's how I got involved with job costing. And over time, of course, my orientation has been to get people to look at their numbers and use them to run their companies more effectively and productively and more profitably. And once I started getting my fingers into AI and finding out all the things it could do, I went, wow, this is a broader base where I can help people become more profitable and learn how to not only apply their numbers, but run their entire businesses more profitably. So it's always been about helping people do better work and do better for themselves. And a lot of people in the construction industry, people think, oh, somebody's a builder, and they must be making a lot of money. Well, a lot of them, are like many other small businesses. They're hanging in there, but they're not making money, the kind of money that maybe they should.
Yeah. My mother was a builder for, probably 15 years, and probably could have used your help. That's why she's no longer a builder. And so, because it's a tough business, right? I mean, there's a lot of ways to lose a lot of money very quickly in construction. And so, So you still have the accounting firm. You guys, your business is still
Mhm.
accounting related, but you're adding kind of in your specialty and what you are really focusing your time and effort on is AI and how to leverage the tool, right?
Yeah.
And then training of the tool. Um,
We're adding in on that side. We've focused primarily using desktop. It's really the best vehicle for doing job costing. And but I felt that this was going to be an add-on, something where there was a lot of synergy between the accounting side as well as the AI side. And so we're adding that in and
okay.
transitioning in that direction to make the most of it.
Right. Okay, great. So as we were preparing for this, or as I say you, because well, you leveraged AI to do our outline for this. So we started off
Exactly.
initially, we were going to say, hey, you know what, let's just have maybe a three episode conversation. And then you thought about it. You're like, you know what, it's probably a lot deeper than 3 episodes, right? And so, and you thought, well, gosh, how do we use AI to kind of set the stage for us to build out kind of what we should be talking about? Um, so you did that and came up with I can't even remember, is it six? I think now it's a 6 part series on
Mhm.
AI. And in that series, you're going to take us from what is it and how do we use it all the way up through. I didn't make it to number 6 when I was looking at it. I was on vacation. I was on vacation last week, so I'm scrambling to catch back up here. But so you're going to take it from just a basic, hey, here it is, and here's what you might want to think about using it for, all the way out to what is number 6? Do you have that in front of you?
Well,
I do,
yeah,
but
I don't have it right in front of me. We'll
yeah,
we'll
let's
kind of
see.
announce them as we go. How does
Yeah, there
that
we go.
work, Gary?
I think it was kind of
And I
next
was
level uses is what it says. I found my
oh,
cheat sheet
okay.
here. And so, um,
I was making
but
a big assumption that you'd want me to come back for the for
absolutely,
all six of them. So
absolutely. Well,
yeah,
I mean, because I learn a lot in these conversations too. It's not just about what I get to share. And as we discussed, prior, um, I do use it a little bit, but it's kind of like all the software that we have, that we pay for on a daily basis. We use about 10% of it and have this other 90% that's super powerful that we never get to. And that's where the real money is to be made, I think, in leveraging these tools. So set it up. So episode 1, which is what we're in right now, you titled it 6 sets of 8 facilitator questions for monthly podcast. So that's what the whole thing is. Episode
right.
1 is getting started, what AI can actually do for you. So let's hit
Yeah.
on that. So
Okay.
before getting started kind of piqued my mind. You got started in this because you saw, hey, here's this tool that can be leveraged to help my clients, to help other other accounting professionals, and then you can kind of build a training business on it, right?
Right. Well, I I have 90 hours of online training that I've already developed out there for QuickBooks Desktop and job costing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really want to go out and start developing a whole bunch of training tools. I was really more interested in learning how to use it.
Hmm.
But in the process of learning how to use it, I became a member of a consulting group that focuses on AI. And so, as a group, we kind of trade ideas back and forth as to how we're using it, how we're helping our clients, and so on. So, as I got into that, and the more I learn, the more I want to use it.
Yeah.
And so I see it such that this other group has lots of pre-developed training, and so I can be a reseller for that rather than me developing training from scratch. And of course, this is
Okay.
changing so fast that it would be difficult for me to start becoming a trainer, but I will become a coach for people that want
Okay.
to get trained, and I can help coach them, and or me using it in my business to help clients do become more profitable.
Okay. All right. So that makes a lot of sense. So you
Okay.
talked about in the outline that Chat GPT built for us. You talked about we want to break the myths, spark some curiosity, and showcase some simple and powerful uses. So
Mhm.
myths. What are kind of the myths around Chat GPT? And you use Chat GPT. So throughout these conversations, we'll be referencing Chat GPT, but there are other services,
Mhm.
solutions out there that people can't
Oh,
explore. But Chat GPT is kind of where you put your anchor.
yes, there are probably 8 or 10 different ones out there now,
Hmm.
but it's almost impossible to keep up with with all of the different ones. And
Yeah.
we've kind of focused something like 80% of the market right now is using ChatGPT,
Yes.
and so many of the other aspects of AI that are getting pulled into various softwares are built on top of OpenAI's, the company that has developed it, Chat GPT. So, we're kind of sticking in that lane. It makes more sense. And, it just takes too much time to go out and explore all the other options right now. If we're getting what we
Yeah.
want, we like what we see. Uh, for now, that's where we're sticking. Although there are a couple of other things I'd like to go out and do a little bit of background exploration in. Pretty intriguing. So,
Yeah. Well, and my guess is you will probably be doing that because that seems to be your kind of your how you're bent, right? Is to explore and
mm,
look at new things and really dive deep into them.
yeah.
But let's focus on ChatGPT for now. So what is it
Okay.
exactly? What is ChatGPT?
Well, it's artificial intelligence that's been built by a company called OpenAI. And I think one of the misconceptions, we're so used to thinking of software. Now, I know that there's coding going on in the background, but this isn't like a typical software. Most software is like, if this and that is the best way to describe it. And it's
Yeah.
all very logical. And things always work the same way, or they should, if you're working inside regular software. AI instead is known as a neural network, where there are lots and lots of layers where it has gone out and been trained on all sorts of information that is available through the internet. And so you don't, for instance, in Chat GPT, if you put a question in, you won't get exactly the same answer 2 times in a row. You can put the same prompt being just your question to Chat GPT, and you won't get exactly the same thing. It develops it as it goes. And the biggest part of ChatGPT now is called a large language model, or an
Yeah.
LLM. And it kind of, from my understanding of it, again, I can't get that far under the hood, but it is building the answer as it's building the answer for you.
Right.
Okay. So, um, I saw a
And s-
Bill Gates special where the first time they took Bill Gates in, and he asked it a question, and he's sitting there looking at it. He said, "Do they have somebody behind the curtain sitting there typing really fast?" It was just a cute little aside from one of the things that he initially saw as they were
right.
starting to roll it out.
Yeah. And that's the tech guy, right?
Yeah,
So all right, so with that, why should accountants or small businesses, why should they care about this? And I'm going to keep calling it a tool because that's what it is. But why should
sure,
they care
it
about
is.
this tool?
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, you can speed up what you're doing. Uh, it doesn't take away from, I could sit down and write an email. And my particular process, if I was answering a question from somebody, I might have to go out and research something, and or I might just want to respond to them. But I'm careful about what I send out in emails. I want to make sure it flows logically and it answers a question or it states what I want to state. And that can take a long time. You draft it and then you look at it again. So it might take me 15 minutes to send out an email to somebody. Whereas, in fact, with like ChatGPT, I can just say, hey, uh, here's an idea. Gary'd like to interview me. What are
Right.
some of the questions that Gary might want to ask about AI? And, within, you know, 5 seconds to 30 seconds, you can have a whole set of things to work with. And then, of course, it doesn't replace me. It doesn't replace the knowledge I already have, but it just gives me that leg up, not having to spend a whole lot of time going through all the initial aspects of it. So, as the mentor of the group that I'm in says, you know what? Humans are a lot better at editing than they are at creating. So,
Mm,
you don't have to do the front end part of it. You get to start out with something logical and then personalize it. So that's just one of the things. So making things work more quickly. And also if I need some real quick research, I can tell it what question am I looking for, and I can get a very quick answer. We use it a lot just as we're working in software. We'll go, whoa, well, how do I do this particular thing? Whereas if you had to go out and look it up yourself, you might have to go out and Google 3 or 4 sites. You might have to experiment and so on. Now, an answer from Chat GPT isn't always right, but we find that either it gives us the right answer or, it takes us 90% of the way there. And then we go, oh, yeah, well, we have to follow through a little bit more. And so we can use it also for procedures if we wanted to quickly put a procedure in place. And again, editing something is so much easier. And that's the way I always thought about an assistant when I had an assistant to do something and say, oh, hey, draft me up something. And they'd bring me a draft, and then I'd have something to work with and edit and smoosh and, change and so on. But this does the same thing. So it's just like having a personal assistant that you can call on 24/7.
Right.
And you can provide it with feedback, and it doesn't roll its eyes or go, oh, you really want me to work at 3 in the morning? Or, or look, I gave you this, quit asking me for revisions. I used to say, if you'd get something past me in less than 6 revisions, you were doing good. So, I can have Chat GPT revised to my heart's content.
With limited attitude. So
with limited attitude.
There you go.
No days off, no benefits, no smoke breaks.
Right. That's right. That's right.
None of all of that stuff. So yeah.
So then what do you see are some of the most common misconceptions around AI? And let's try to keep it towards like in the accounting profession, in the accounting community, the CPAs, public accountants.
Well, and I think a lot of people just haven't used it. They just haven't tried it. And so they still do view it as software. And it really isn't. It's something very different, something very new. And, I think in many cases, maybe they don't trust it because they haven't, again, tried it. It's an unknown. I like to, my parallel in my brain is kind of like way, way, way back in the day when I heard about massage. I know this is not, accounting, but about massage, and massage might be a nice thing to do, but I just never had one, and it just took me a lot of internal fortitude to just finally go, okay, I'm going to pick up the phone, I'm going to make an appointment, I'm going to try it. And it's one of those things, try it, you'll like it. And AI is a little bit like that. I had somebody tell me a couple of weeks ago that they're scared of it. And I'm going, gosh, we just have to get you to put a question in and get it to answer it for you so you can see it's not going to jump off the computer screen and grab you or take over your house or something. So I think that's one thing, is they think of it as software. They haven't had a chance to use it. It really doesn't replace anybody. It's just another tool to augment what you're doing, but it does it really fast. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and I think, and if you can free up that person from doing, the menial task that are important and have to get done, but let's leverage the technology to do that. Like you said, six revisions back and forth. Well, instead of taking, a day to do that, you can do it in, 15, 20 minutes with the various revisions. And it's pretty good quality. And it's pretty good quality stuff for the most part. And you mentioned before we started recording, you had mentioned the basically, the constant improvements, and specifically we were talking about images. And images, I think probably 3 weeks ago was when the platforms really, I don't know what they did. Again, it's not my background, but they did something where now images are actually pretty darn good to come out of it, and you're able to adjust the image on the fly. And so it really changes
It will even
what you can
spell
get
things
from it.
correctly. It used to be that you couldn't get it to spell anything properly. I'd have to
Right.
take it out. When I did something like that, I'd have to pull the picture out and then replace any little banners or something using my Snagit software.
Yeah. Yeah, and that
But
was kind
now
of the
it's
funniest
spelling
thing to
things
me.
right.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
seemed very strange to me. It's like I'm giving you the letters. How are you not spelling it right? But
yeah,
um,
uh,
it's
yeah.
bigger
And
than
in
us.
our
Right.
consulting group, we've been getting, over the last year, um, the fellow that founded it gives us a picture of how it's going to work and how fast it's going to change, and it is amazing to sit here and see how it has progressed in the way that it has been projected that it will, and even in many cases in ways that we had no concept that it would change. So
Right.
it's moving fast. It's moving very quickly.
So what? So if somebody's listening and they're on that list of who you just said of people who are just like, I'm kind of scared of it. I don't know enough about it. What would you say is number one step? What do you do?
Well, there is, if you go out to OpenAI and just ask for the free version of Chat GPT, okay, there's a free version. You don't even have to put in your email if you don't want to. Just go out and ask it a question, or just say, um, why don't you rewrite this email? Or I have to fire a client. What's a good way to do it? What's a nice way to
Yeah,
put it? Or I have to send something out to a client who doesn't get their work into us on a regular basis, and that puts us behind and creates a problem. Just just put it in your own plain words. You don't have to be tech savvy. You don't have to do any coding. Just say, well, here's this problem. I need to send an email or I need to have a conversation. Give me the outline of what I should be covering when I talk with that person. Um, just think AI is the biggest thing. I think you and I mentioned, you said, well, you use it sometimes and then you kind of forget that it's there. And
yeah,
then later you'll go back and use it. And that's been um, something that we continually talk about it in our team meetings internally and say, oh, well, here's how I used it. And then somebody else says, oh, well, and I used it for this other thing. And here's what happened. And again, not always perfect. Sometimes it'll take you down a path that doesn't give you the right answer, but now the same thing happens with other people too.
sure.
Um, you don't always get a perfect answer from somebody else. So
Yeah.
you just always want to take a look at the output and make sure that it seems reasonable or test it. And that's where I think a lot of people are afraid it's going to hallucinate or give them bad information. But as time has moved forward, they're finding ways to help make sure that the information's a little more accurate. So
And
it didn't
then
used to be able to search the web, and now it goes right out and searches the web, and you can even say, "Oh, I want something that's within the last 18 months." If you're researching something, so you give a lot of clues and ideas, and if you don't like
yeah,
what you see, try it again.
yeah, and I think that's the probably a habit we have to get into, right? Is try again. And because even what you have, like in the example you gave before of having somebody write an email or a letter for you, there might be six revisions, and we don't think twice about six revisions in or we didn't. Um,
Mhm.
but then using a tool like this, you're like, well, why isn't it right the first time? Well, because it might take six revisions to get it in your voice and the way that you speak and the way that you want your message to come across. So
Right.
I think it goes without saying, but I want to make sure I do say it because we want to make sure we're giving good advice, right? And that is, I wouldn't put any sensitive data out there, right?
Oh,
Certainly aren't,
absolutely not.
yeah, not want to put any because this is open source information, so anybody can see it. So don't put any, and we know as accounting or y'all know as accounting professionals what sensitive data is. I don't think we have to put a list of that out there. So
Yeah.
no sensitive data in Chat GPT, whether it's paid or free. I would never do that. So
Right. Yeah. You
um,
want to anonymize your data. Okay.
yes, yep.
No company names, no people's names, if you're working with somebody else's data for sure.
Mm.
And there are some
Yeah,
ways. There are some ways that you can put some parameters around that, and that's more than we probably are going to go into today. But there are certain settings that you can set up, and there are different security aspects that you can put in place. So,
Yeah. Okay. So, what would you say, what's kind of a admin support that you've used that was probably the most impactful in using like Chat GPT?
well, all four of us use it multiple times per day.
Yeah.
Okay, so from an admin standpoint, um, for instance, we were sponsoring a LinkedIn event. Okay, and so my VA went out and asked, how many direct messages can we send out in any given day without violating LinkedIn policies? So that was
Yeah.
that's the type of thing that every time a little question comes up, you can do it. Another thing, we actually created the job description for our VA. We sat down and brainstormed, the three of us, before we brought her on board. We sat down and said, well, okay, let's put some keywords in. We want this person to be this and this and this and this. I mean, nothing, almost no um, you know, what I call good writing in it. Um, we just sat down and brainstormed together as a group. We said, okay, can you please turn this into a job description? And boom, just like that. And we looked at it and went, whoa, this is a great job description.
Yeah.
So you can give it very minimal information, and sometimes less is more, because if you start giving it too much, then it kind of has a tendency to parrot it back at you. Whereas if you give it more broad guidelines, it's going to help you. It's going to ask like somebody who knows strategy and has insights into human behavior and all sorts of things. And yeah, those would be some administrative things. Another thing that you want to be thinking about is, what is it that we're doing over and over again that could potentially be automated? Um, so procedures, okay?
Hmm.
And you know what? We have our OneNote is just so full of procedures, because over the years, we have developed, we're doing something, and oh, let's do screenshots and let's do procedures and so on. But you know what? Those are accurate for, how long? Maybe a year, okay?
Right.
Because everything is changing underneath us and around us. So you can go ahead and have ChatGPT write up the latest set of procedures and then tweak them, change them, try them. And also, I've just been going through some training about how you can link different sets of things together. You can write custom GPTs, and
Okay.
then you can also even link those together. So the whole idea is, ultimately, you can go to, you know, saving, let's say you could save 20% of your time using ChatGPT. That's a huge impact. But there are a lot of places and pieces where we'll ask, how much time did you save me, as a part of our settings, and we have that automatically kick out. And
Mm.
it'll give you an estimate of how long it probably would have taken you to do this particular thing, if you had done it on your own, and how long it took you with ChatGPT. And the time savings are incredible. So it's worth asking ChatGPT. And I think it underestimates how long it would take a person to do something, because as a person, we very seldom just sit down and do one thing.
Right.
Because you start on something, and then somebody needs you for something, or the phone rings, or you get distracted because an email pops in or whatever. So our pick up put down time adds to how long it takes us to get things done. So at any rate, if you ask ChatGPT to give you that estimate and say how much time did it save, and it will lay out the different thought processes for you that it went through and how much time it has saved you. Pretty eye
Yeah.
opening.
That's interesting. I've not thought of that. And then one use that I used it for that I totally forgot about it until you were just sharing that information just then, and that
Hmm.
was a we had a contract come in, and it was from an international company, and it had all of these, various, what's your company's policy on, eco-friendly? What's your company's policy on, X, Y, and Z? We're a small business. We don't have those policies. Most
Mhm.
don't, right? So I did pull up Chat GPT, and again, funny, when we were talking before, I totally forgot that I did this, but pulled it up, said, "Hey, I can't remember exactly what it was called, but I need a, green policy,
Mhm.
carbon reduction, policy," and it wrote it in, you know, 22 seconds or something, and read it, had to put in company name, but other than that, it provided it. Now, I've also heard of people using it for building out like HR handbooks, right, for the companies.
Mhm.
And so I can't even imagine the amount of time that I would have spent had I had to write out those policies. I mean, it would have been days, or I would have had to pay a lawyer. And
In which
nobody wants to
case,
do
then
that.
also, then you would have had to have contacted the lawyer, explained what it was that you wanted to do, and then waited for them to turn it around for you. And
Right.
all in all, that could have been a 2, 3, 4 week leg.
Yep.
And that's the other thing I love about it is I don't have to go through those lengthy back and forth kinds of things, particularly with legal documents and so on. Now, you might also want it to look at a legal document and say, "Tell me what this says." You know, in plain English, tell me what this contract
Mm,
is telling me, and ask it to interpret it for you.
okay.
Um, and of course, ultimately, in the long run, for things that are really important, you likely want to go talk to the lawyer and have them
Sure.
take a look at the final part. But just think how much time you save on the front end, and you're putting your own ideas in as to what you want. So,
And it also would help you build kind of your knowledge base, right? So when the lawyer starts his lawyer speak,
mhm,
you're able to understand what he's talking about, right? Do a little bit of
exactly.
homework on the front end. So what about prompts? You mentioned prompts before, and prompts is basically just you asking ChatGPT or telling ChatGPT what it is that you want. What does a good prompt look like?
Mhm. Well, actually, if you would like, if your readers would like, I can forward a PDF to you, Gary, that I
Okay,
created
sure,
for this, and it's an outline. And let me just pull this up so I've got it in front of me. I know it's down here. So this is going to be it's pretty easy, but sometimes it's nice to have a cheat sheet. So
sure.
a prompt formula, if you wanted to put something in, you tell Chat GPT to act as blank. Okay, so maybe act as my marketing coach and help me do such and such for a particular situation or audience. So, example might be act as a marketing expert and help me write a LinkedIn post encouraging small business owners to sign up for a free webinar on using AI. Or act as an HR manager, there's that role, and help me
Hmm.
create a welcome checklist for new virtual employees, or act as a financial coach and help me explain job costing to a residential construction company owners. So it looked at my memories and threw some of those examples in from the memories that it held about me. Now, of course, you can add in what are called tone modifiers. And
Okay.
so you could say, make it professional and friendly, or keep it under 150 words. And you can also then, after you get things, and for me, as I'm working with ChatGPT, it creates a lot of suggestions for me. I had to keep telling it as I was working on some of these things. Every time I'd go through how to answer a particular question, for instance, it would go, "Oh, you want me to turn this into a checklist for you? Do you want me to make it sound more inspiring or whatever?" So
Yeah.
it's very helpful. It likes to help you. And so that's one way you can kind of go down what people refer to as rabbit holes. You start out doing one thing, and it says, "Oh, you want me to help you do this? Do you want me to help you do that?" So, um, again, that helpful professional assistant that you have by your side.
Yeah.
So,
And so it seems if you're looking for more input and maybe a more general response that you can build on,
Mm-hmm.
You ask a general question, but if you want something very specific, you would ask a more specific and more detailed question. I've shared with you, we use HubSpot, and within
Mm-hmm.
HubSpot, like if you're building out a blog page, it you can actually use HubSpot to build the whole blog page, but there's a it breaks down, it wants to give you a meta description.
Mm-hmm.
And the meta description, I think it's supposed to be 150 characters or less.
Uh-huh.
And 9.5 times out of 10, when I ask, it uses Copilot within HubSpot, but when I ask it to do the meta description, it goes beyond the 150 characters or words, whatever it is, which is
Uh-huh.
very funny to me because then it puts a flag on it and says, hey, it's the description is too long. I'm like, well, you wrote the description knowing it's supposed to be this short. So, but one of the nuances, right, that you have to deal with.
Right. So generally, my understanding is you're going to be within about 10% of the number of characters or words
Okay.
over or under. And the more specific you can be, in that case, if you know it can't be any more than 150 characters, including spaces, then you could say, give it to me for, 140 characters with spaces,
Okay.
including
Oh, that's
spaces.
interesting.
So just be pretty specific, but know that it's very difficult because I've sat down with things where it has to be X number of characters and
Right.
reworked it myself, and you go, well, maybe I could take that comma out. And maybe on the Pro Advisor sites, for instance, they have limits on the number of characters. And sitting down and reworking some of those things to make them work manually can take a lot of time. So, just I cut it a little shorter and then you can always add.
Okay. So this is one of the questions that we have, and I think you may have already touched on it, but there might be something else out there, and that was, what's an easy win-win, and that that I could leverage ChatGPT with, if there's
Mhm.
something that we haven't already talked about, that doesn't require a tech background.
Well, you don't need a tech background.
Yeah.
Period. That's the
Yeah.
cool thing about it is you just talk to it like you're talking to an assistant. Um, so, maybe I don't know. One of the things that can be hard for some of us to do would be to ask a client for a testimonial. Okay, so ask ChatGPT to help you write a nice email to ask a client for a testimonial. And just put the basic idea. I want to ask um, Joe for a testimonial about
Yeah.
this particular project. And here are a couple of things that stood out for me. And put it into ChatGPT and then see what it gives you. And if you don't care for the tone or whatever, um, and generally ChatGPT is very polite. I mean, it's very nice. It will send you encouraging messages as you work through things, and so don't abuse it. but
Right.
but I can't. Even if you did, I don't think you get anything bad out of it. But take a look at what you get and then tweak it. Just do your do your editing. And so the big thing is to think AI for everything. We're so used to putting our hands on the keyboard and, oh, this needs to be done. We put our hands on the keyboard and we do it. But I don't know how many times I've gotten partway through something and went, oh, rats, I should have asked ChatGPT. And so then I'll go back over and do the inquiry. And in almost all cases, it comes up with something that's excellent. I might have to tweak it a couple times. Um, Say, well, let's make this a little more lighthearted, or add a little bit of humor in, or whatever. And then I also ask it to check things that maybe I've done from scratch. I'll say, look, I just wrote this. Can you take a look and see if there's anything that needs to be fixed or could work better, or maybe the flow on a presentation could be better. And
Okay.
it comes up with good ideas.
Okay. So, before we wrap up, and I think we've kind of kicked off, we've kind of shared multiple reasons why somebody, if they're skeptical, why they
Hmm.
should just jump out there and do it.
Hmm.
And maybe not today, it's April 14th. We're right here at the tax deadline. So
Yeah.
maybe they should wait. Maybe not. Maybe there's something they could save a ton of time in the next 24-ish hours, 28 hours. But what's the difference? And we'll just close on this. What's the difference in the free and the paid version of, again, Chat GPT? And what do I get? It's only $20 a month, so why not pay it? But what do I get for that $20 a month?
I'm really glad you brought that up because that was floating in the back of my mind that I don't think was in our
It
initial
was not.
questions. But
It was
yeah,
not.
the free one will give you a flavor of doing what you're what it can do for you.
Okay.
But you're going to run out of they'll shut you down like most free anything. You're not going to get the full experience. So go out and use the free one, try it for a couple of different things, see what you get. But the paid version will give you better results. I just had a presentation to the local home builders association. I had people in the group that had never touched it. I had
Oh,
people that had been using it pretty extensively for a year or so. And what was happening was that the people who were using the free version were really getting into it and typing, and then they said, "Oh, it stopped me." So
mm,
you'll only get a certain number of uses before it will
okay.
say, "Oh, you've used up all of your available quote unquote tokens." So it keeps track. But if you will get into the paid version, you're going to get much you're going to get much better results.
Okay. And this, I don't know the answer to this question. I should know it, but that's why we have these discussions. Is it a app based, browser based, both? Like if I'm on my phone, am I using a Chat GPT app or OpenAI app? What's that? What am I using?
Yeah, you can use it on your desktop. Okay, and I that's where I normally keep it because I have a big screen and that's where I spend most of my time.
Yeah.
But you can put a version of it on your phone once you get, let's say you get in a paid version of ChatGPT. I think you can probably put the free version on your phone. I've been in the paid version for so long, I'm not even
Yeah.
exactly sure what you can do um, with the free one. But I have it on my phone. There's voice mode. You can talk to it. You can have it talk to you, and yeah, it'll be on your phone and on your desktop if you install it on it's an app. You can go
Yeah.
out and get it on the App Store and
Okay.
put it there. And if you want to talk to it, that's another very cool thing is you can sit down and talk to it for 20 minutes, tell it your life story if you want to, and
Right.
say, "Oh, well, here are some business decisions that I'm going to have to make, and here's some ideas, and here's the background, and so on." And it'll sit and listen to you, and you can say, "Okay, now what's your recommendation?" So the voice aspect it can be very good for people who like to talk their way through certain things. So
Okay. All right. So in wrapping up, how do you put a bow on this opening discussion of leveraging, using, getting used to this tool as part of your toolkit? Um, but how do you want to wrap that up?
well, I just say here is just a good way to start. I can get you that PDF for the
Great.
prompt, the prompt cheat sheet.
Hmm.
I mean, it's pretty easy, and just give it a try. I found that once I started using it, it's pretty addictive in terms of just saying, how can I make my work life better, make it more enjoyable, cut down on a lot of the frustrations that we experience if you're in new software or we need a quick answer for something. It's a lot faster than Googling things. So
Yeah.
you can just get very specific and get an answer. So try it, you'll like it.
Yeah. Give it a shot. So
Yeah.
hop out to am I searching ChatGPT or OpenAI, or they'll both go to the same place, I imagine.
I think you can start at Google if you want to and say
Yeah.
free Chat GPT account, and it'll pop up. You'll just go out there and try it.
Great. All right. And so how do people find you? And actually, and are you already training people on this, or is that on your roadmap?
Actually, I'm running every other week. I'm running a Tuesday and a Friday free webinar.
Okay.
On Monday, we call it AI at Work, and then we sit down and I create a prompt for people to actually solve a business situation And so that way they get to try it. And on Friday, we have Book to Biz. And so, yeah, if you come out to our website at buildyournumbers.com, right front and center on the web page, the home web page, you can go sign up to have us notify you of upcoming free webinars. They're an hour, and
Okay.
it's just a way for people to get in and quickly try it out in different scenarios. And it's you kind of have to expand your mind to say, oh, I could use it for this or I could use it for that. On the Book to Biz side, we took out a business book, and then you can take one of the primary concepts out of a business book and apply it to your role, your company, and company size, something very customized to you, as if the author was creating a special presentation for you.
Okay,
So
great. And these, and I don't have to be in construction, right? This is
no,
general for anybody, everybody.
exactly. Yep.
Okay,
Very, very open AI. Haha. That's
great.
my,
And the web address again was buildyournumbers.com.
that's it. Yep.
All right, great. Diane, thank you so much for this opening salvo on AI and for this discussion. And as we talked about on the front end, there's more to come. And so just keep visiting insightfulaccountant.com or our YouTube channel, or find us on wherever you pull down your podcast, and you will see it as these are released. Thanks again.
Great.
Great seeing you.
Okay. Thanks so much, Gary. Take care.
You bet. Bye bye.